Hello, everybody. Welcome back to CBN Unscripted. I'm your host, Jasmine Monk, and I'm really excited about today's episode because we're going to be talking about what it takes to build a successful college bowling program. And so I've got Jeffrey Fleck here with me. He's the head coach of the women's program at Wright State University. He's a Hall of Fame coach, a multiple-time coach of the year, and really someone that has been doing this a very long time on a high level for a very long time. So, Coach, I'm just really excited, honestly, for this episode. You know, we chatted at the end of last year, and you really have a story to tell. And so I'm excited for us to tell that story for the listeners today. And, you know, you've really done this from so many angles. So I just really appreciate you being here. And I'm just really looking forward to telling that story with you today.
Thanks for having me, Jasmine.
Yeah, of course, of course. So, I think a good place to start would be just kind of take us through your journey. You know, how did you start coaching? You know, how did you get into it? You know, have you bowled your entire life? Like, I would love to start just with a little bit background there.
Yeah, so I have bowled my entire life. I started bowling as a kid. Actually bowled for the University of Dayton in the 70s. We had a little club team there, and we
Oh,
traveled
wow.
everywhere in like a station wagon. So it was six guys piled into one hotel room and stuff like that. So definitely started from scratch. I think like 2002, my son and daughter were in high school, and they started a bowling program here in Centerville. And a buddy of mine asked me to help coach. So that kind of started the high school. I did that for like 7 years. My daughter bowled for Pikeville and Moorhead. My son was a few years behind her, and he wanted to do college bowling. He did a couple visits, and he goes, Dad, if we start a program at Wright State, we can save money and I can just commute to school. So that's literally what happened in like 2005. So we kind of started the club program, myself and Ty Davidson and Mandy Wilson. Um, Started the club program, and then that went on for up until about 4 years ago. And Wright State needed to add a couple NCAA D1 sports. They interviewed me for a couple hours, looking to see what club sports they could promote to varsity sports. And I'll never forget, at the end of the interview, the guy looks at me and he goes, "So can you recommend a coach?" I said, "Well, when do you want to start?" He goes, "We want to start in the fall." And this was May. I said, "Well, I happen to be retiring from my IT job in August. I could recommend a coach. You just spent 2 hours talking to him." So there you go. So
Wow.
4 years ago, the women transitioned to NCAA, and it was quite a learning experience. So we kind of brought
Yeah.
our club program over. So the first year was quite a learning experience, but the coaching at the NCAA levels, while everybody wants to win and everybody's competitive, the mentorship and the feedback and the help that I've gotten from so many coaches across the country has been incredible.
Wow.
And so here we are 4 years later, and as of 2 weeks ago, I just got a 4-year extension. So I'm going to be here for a while. Just
Let's
what I needed in
go.
my retirement, huh?
I love that. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, man, let's talk about kind of, your vision, when you kind of were getting this started 4 years ago. Like, what was your vision for the program and just really what you were looking to do?
So yeah, when we were a club program, we had actually gotten to ITC Nationals like 7 out of 10 years. So
Wow. Okay.
we worked hard to be competitive. I think one year we actually finished the rankings in third. I was lucky enough to be NCBCA Coach of the Year the one time.
Nice.
So being competitive was always in our realm. So obviously joining the NCAA, I was like, okay, what do I need to do? What do we need to do to be competitive? And
Yeah.
first thing I learned was there was a lot of rules and regulations that we had to follow, and a little more travel. And we had to start focusing on girls from not only a bowling perspective, but academic perspective, because the tournaments are a lot longer. In the club world, we were just either leaving on a Saturday morning or a Friday night and bowling the weekend. Now it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's 4 days. So we've got to be a lot
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
in tune with everything that's part of their students, being a student, being a person, and being an athlete, and making sure we can support all of that for them. So yeah, my
Yes.
vision was to, and we've been tracking those goals. In our first year, we were like 48th in the coaches poll or the RPI, probably not in the coaches poll because they didn't go down that far, but in the RPI. And each year we've made a goal and we've continued to move up. And this year was very rewarding. I mean, very close to making it, but 13th in the coaches poll, 11th in the RPI. So obviously now it's top 10. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. And you and I had when we did talk at the end of last year, we had a really good conversation, and you were talking about how family centric that your team is and your program and really what you built. So talk to us a little bit about why that's important and how that transfers into how the girls execute on the lanes.
You know, I've been reading a few things and quotes about family and stuff because there's ups and downs during the season. There's times where maybe the players and the coaches aren't always on the same page, or I've done something to kind of upset the boat, or we've got some issues going on with this, or somebody's injured or whatever. But as a family, you always find a way to do the things together. So once we walk in the bowling alley, our collective family is there as a family to work together and win, work hard, and still make memories. I've been using the term make memories this year because I want this experience for them when they leave here to think that this was 4 years that were very special to them.
Yeah.
Just like a family, just like a family has vacations, or family has a reunion, or family has this event or whatever. Those are memories. And I look at it the same way with our bowling and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
and I think it keeps us close. I think we bowl for each other. And I think that's how you win as a team. You have to be a family to be a team.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And just kind of another question to kind of piggyback off that, like, you were talking about the rankings and kind of how you kind of climbed that ladder over the years, right? And you guys have your goals. Like, a lot of people see rankings, but for you guys, like, what really goes into that kind of behind the scenes? You kind of touched on it, but if you had anything to add as well.
So Jasmine, my philosophy has been if they're keeping score, we're playing to win. So if we've got an event where we need volunteers and they're keeping track of how many people show up, we're all showing up. So Habitat for Humanity, we're all there. On the GPA side, I right away I realized, hey, we're doing pretty good in the rankings. We need to move up in the GPA ranking. So I'm really excited to see what happens second semester, because first semester we did really well. So
Yes.
academic All-American from a team perspective, from an individual perspective, showing up for community
Nice.
service. So everything that we're doing, we're gonna do to perform. Fundraising, we're gonna work hard to be one of the top fundraisers. Everything we need to do, we're gonna make it the same attitude. Let's try to win.
Yeah. No, that's good. I love that. I love that. Like, just the culture you built. I'm like, yeah, I would totally like be on your team and bowl. I would vote for you. I'll take one. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit. So, you guys have had a lot of success this season. What would you say, like, you're most proud of your team? Was it a specific moment or, tournament? Like, do you have any in particular that you're, I guess, most proud of?
So this year we probably had more. We had a van with the tire blew out. We had an incident where let's say we couldn't cross the border in our van, so we had to, when we were at Niagara, we wanted to go to the falls, so we had to readjust. So many times this year things have happened and we've had to readjust. We had people injured, we had to fill in. We had people that were unable to attend a tournament for one reason or another, so somebody else stepped up and filled in. So every time something was thrown at us, we found a way to adjust to that and deal with it. All right, so we were never going to complain. We were just going to find a way to reevaluate, readjust, and handle the situations. So this year has really been what I've been most proud of, is the fact that we were always looking forward, we were always bouncing back, and it was always the next game, the next match, whatever we could do to keep moving forward.
Yeah, no, that's so good. Just you have to just put one foot in front of the other, stay optimistic. And I love that because a lot of the things that you're talking about that you're instilling in the girls, or the culture that you've built, it applies on and off the lanes. Like it goes
Absolutely.
both ways. Yeah, it does. And so, I'm just, as we're talking, like I'm just reflecting on my own journey and when I was in school, and I just grew so much as a person. Like everything that I learned and just that culture I was a part of really shaped like who I was as a person. And I still, I still use a lot of the same like skills that I learned and just different things today. So I think that's so important. I have another question. So
Sure.
what would you say separates teams that like compete versus teams that win?
Well, I think that you have to have the philosophy that that you can beat anybody. First of all, you can't go in scared, so you have to go in with a positive attitude that you can compete, and I think that's the level we've gotten to this season is, um, especially in the 4 out of 7s, Baker, because Baker is a total team effort, and I think that we thrive on that, and we want to be able to step up and do that. So I think the difference between competing and winning is probably more mental. We've been really lucky this year that one of my assistant coaches has she's a mental therapist, and so she's brought a lot of mental game to us. We do a lot of mindfulness prior to each day and matches like that, so we're able to focus and get our heads focused on what we're doing. So I think maybe it goes from the physical, but you have to have the mental. You have to be able to handle that. You have to know that the most important shot is always the next shot, and how do you look forward, and what's the opportunity here. I mean, we literally were in the hunt as far as I can tell, probably till the last match of the season against Sam Houston. And I'm pretty sure we were bowling for the last spot in the at-large bid, possibly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we battled right to the bitter end, and God love them. I feel like they're going to be coming back next year. We lose nobody, so
Mhm.
I'm hoping they're coming back hungry. And I
That's
think,
awesome.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited. That's why I'm like, it's only May, and I'm like, darn it, can we just start next week? But I know the girls need to rest
October,
up a
come
little
on.
bit. Yeah, and we
Yeah.
looked at our schedule, and we're going to revamp that a little bit. We bowled a lot in the beginning, and we might have bowled a little too much, got a little dinged up, but we found a way to kind of to work with the training staff and modify some of our routines with physical strength and conditioning. But again, they all want to work hard and be there. So I think it's just maybe a mentality thing when it comes to competing versus winning, right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. No, that makes a lot of sense. Mental, yeah, I recorded another episode with Coach Chris from Midway University, and we talked a lot about just mental game. And I mean, that really is that's the separation, honestly. Like, I believe in that. So I think that's great. And I agree with you 1,000%.
Yeah. And let me throw this in there. So this summer, there's 2 books. There's the bowling philosophy, and then there's bowling. Um, Looking for them. They're right over here. Bowling psychology. Yeah. So there's a couple bowling books that we have 10 girls, and I separated. Each one of them has like 2 chapters in one of the 2 books for the
Oh,
summer.
mhm,
So they're reading between
mhm.
45 and 60 pages. So each of them is going to be part of a group. So this is their group project for the summer, is to get together
Nice.
in the fall. I mean, make sure you read your 2 chapters, and when you get together for the fall, I want a 2-page presentation on what's the best. What did you get from this, and how can we apply that to our bowling this next season?
That is okay, coaches. If you're listening and watching this, like you need to take notes if you're not using it. I think that's great. I love that. I'm excited to hear, what they got out of the book and how they will apply that. That's really good. I like that. I haven't heard of that one before, so I like that.
Thanks.
That's good. Yeah. Okay, so I want to shift gears just a little bit. So I just kind of want to talk about, just collegiate bowling as a whole. So, you've seen this sport evolve, right, over time, and you've been just, connected with bowling, and connected with the bowling community for a long time. What do you feel has changed the most when it comes to, maybe we could just focus on college bowling? It'd be easier.
I think
Yeah,
that
what do
the
you think is changed the most?
yeah, I think college bowling has just become, there's just so much more depth. There's just the talent level, and I think it even starts at the high school level, right? I just think there's more interest, there's more people doing it, and they're doing it at a higher level. And from a college bowling perspective, I've been talking to juniors in high school because obviously I said we don't lose anybody, but the following year we lose 5 seniors. So the fall of 2027 are the current high schoolers that are going into their senior year. So one of the things is
Mhm.
in interviewing them, I'm amazed at how much bowling knowledge and how bowling smart they already are. Understanding the
Oh,
difference
I
between the
love
hybrid, the
that.
solid, and the
Yeah.
pearl, understanding their PAPs, understanding transition on lanes, looking at patterns, just all the different stuff. I know the one girl was sitting in my office and she had had a long day. She'd been here since like 8 o'clock and it was like 4 o'clock, and they had come back from all the tour stuff when we were talking, and her parents, and I could tell she was just starting to nod off, and because it'd been a long day.
Mhm.
And then I started talking bowling and bowling balls and show them how we do our bowling chart and stuff. And man, her eyes lit up. And next thing I know, we're talking bowling for 25 minutes. So
Wow. I love
I
that.
think what's changed is just the knowledge and the ability and the fact that there's just so many good bowlers out there now. Um,
Mhm.
and there's so many teams. When we go into a tournament, you can't take anybody for granted. I think 10 years ago, you might be bowling and there were some teams like, well, girls, just do your job here. No offense to anybody, but that they just weren't, they were more of a high school type team bowling at the collegiate level. Now, if you're bowling a team that's a
Yes.
college team, they're a college team. They're
Oh,
ready,
yeah.
and if you're ranked higher than them, they want to take you down. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just think the landscape, and then of course, obviously with some of the other stuff with NIL and stuff, I don't know that it's affected bowling as much. I know there's some portal stuff, but watching some of these other programs like here at Wright State with some of the other sports like baseball and volleyball and stuff. I mean, portal day was it was like that was their whole job all day long. And I poked in there and it's like, well, yeah, this isn't bowling has not gotten to the point where, good God, there's 500 or 600 or 700 people in there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I know I digressed or took a tangent off of your question, but yeah,
No, it's good.
I just think it's, and you know what's funny? My God, I ran into the chief counsel yesterday, came over to have a meeting. Man, you had a great season this year on the bowling team. And I ran into somebody the other day, our COO. Hey, what a great season on the bowling team. I mean, just the recognition here on campus for me in 4 years from bowling. Why did we pick bowling to be a varsity sport? To,
Yeah.
my God, you guys are really pretty good. So, and
I
I
love
think that's
that.
good for the ladies and stuff like that. I mean, I think they enjoy the recognition. They enjoy the perks, and they like the fact that they're recognized just like any of the other successful programs here.
Yeah, no, I think that's so good. I agree. It has evolved. It's continuing to evolve. Division two, they're gonna have their own championships in 2028, which I think is so awesome. I tell people all the time, just kind of the makeup of at least on the NCAA side, like what that kind of looks like. And they're like, are you serious? I'm like, I'm very serious. I was like, so, Division two getting their own championship is totally a big deal. And it's right, it's an indicator that we are like thriving and, like the sport, collegiate bowling is trending upward, more opportunities, more scholarships, just more of all of it. And so I'm all for it. It's very unique. I tell people all the time that just the sport of bowling, but collegiate bowling specifically is very, very unique. And so I'm excited for it. I'm excited for all the growth. And I'm just looking forward to kind of following that along and watching all the
Yeah.
teams like yourself just do all the amazing things. So, okay, well, we'll go ahead and kind of close it out here. What is maybe one or two things you would love to leave, or any tips that you would like any listeners, right? It could be coaches or youth bowlers or maybe a current collegiate bowler. What tips that would you live? Oh my gosh, leave for them as we close out today.
Oh gosh. Well, I think my from a bowler perspective, I think that always work hard and never give up on your goals. And if you reach out to a school and you don't get the response, then you just reach out to another school, right? And you just keep trying to forget, because there's going to be a fit for everybody somewhere. Whether the program's up and coming and growing, whether it's been there for a long time. Everybody's looking for different things. Look at your pros and cons. How far away from home do you want to be? But always focus on education. God love it. I would love for everybody in collegiate bowling to be a PWBA star someday. But the reality is we're all going to college to get an education. They're all going to college to get an education. And this is the experience and the extracurricular activity that's going to fill your day so that you're not just stuck studying all the time, and kind of well-rounded. And like you said, the things you learn in college bowling and in these tournaments and in travel, they're life skills. Everybody's getting a minor in life skills, time management, organizational skills. Those are the real value there. I think when they go to interview for a job, they're going to be able to talk about this experience. I know whenever I was interviewing, right, what do you do for an extracurricular activity? To be able to talk about these experiences is going to be huge for them.
Yeah.
The other thing I would leave is I totally appreciate the landscape of college bowling coaching. I spent 2.5 hours on a plane ride home with Shannon and Brian O'Keefe sitting in the same row on the plane, and we talked about bowling for the almost 90% of the time, and they're sharing information. Nobody is like holding information. Well, we're really good. I don't want to share this because you might be good. Everybody wants to see the sport grow, and we're all in it for the young adults and the student athletes in that. And I think just tremendous. So continue. I think we just need to continue doing that, making sure we're doing it for the right reasons. Hopefully that helped answer your question.
Yeah, no, that was really just to leave any words of wisdom, right, with anybody that'll be watching this. So, just thank you so much for your time today. I know your time is valuable, and like you said, we chatted. I don't even think that was recorded, but we were chatting, guys, before we actually went live. And I was asking Coach, like, are you enjoying kind of the off season, and do you have a little time to yourself? And he was like, no. He was like, I am getting ready for next season. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys are going to do, because I know you're going to do great, and you're putting in the time, and so is your team. And so just thank you for everything that you've done for collegiate bowling. I'm very grateful. Just for having the conversation with you. So thank you so much for being here. Make sure that you guys like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you in the next episode. Take care.
Jasmine, thanks for everything. Appreciate you.
Of course. Thanks, Coach.